Hello, crafters. This is Yana Smakula for SimonsSaysStamp.com. Welcome back for another Yippee For Yana episode. I love all things abstract, and I wanted to create a bold, bright, colorful abstract background for this card. Now, I also love the new Poppy Field stencil from Simon Says Stamp, and I thought about a different way of using it. Now, this stencil is designed to be used with a coordinating stamp set, which adds a stamped outline to your ink blended image. So it completes the look. But I wanted to try using this product, the stencil, alone without the coordinating stamp set to achieve a different type of look, a vague, abstract type of floral background. And I think that this stencil worked brilliantly for this. I started working on my card by getting my supplies ready. I first settled on a color combo. I wanted to have an explosion of all the different colors for the poppies. I didn't want the poppies to be just red. I wanted to have shades of orange, yellow, and pink. In fact, I don't have any red on this card. I started by ink blending the flower layer. Now, these stencils, the stencil set, they're all labeled. And the first layer that one should use is not the flower layer. It's one of the leaf layers. But I like to go rogue with my stencils. I like to break the rules. So I started with the flower layer and I ink blended each flower using a different color of ink. So there are 5 flowers and I used 4 colors. The colors that I used are the Simon Says Stamp positively saturated. These are the positively saturated inks, and the colors are Sherbet, Citrine, Cheeky, and Mandarin. The cardstock I'm using here is Nina Solar White 80 pound, and I have the Spellbinders Best Ever Craft Tape holding everything in place and also masking the flower sections so that I can ink blend each flower at a time and use a different color for each flower. I'm using the large Simon Says Stamp blending brushes for this blending today, as these are pretty large areas and I'm just doing a flat color application. I don't want any directional ink blending or shading or anything like that. I'm just slapping bold, bright color onto the paper. With the flowers ink blended, I moved on to blending the other 3 layers, and those are the leaves and the stems, and I blended those with the 3 shades of green. I used Celery, Limelicious, and Perfection, and again, these are the Simon Says Stamp positively saturated inks, and I really love those inks for ink blending and stamping. In fact, I like them for ink blending and for stamping too, but the main reason why I like them is because they do not stain. They do not stain stamps. They do not stain stencils. You can just take your stencil to the sink and wash it and the color comes right off. So there's never any staining. And in my book, that's the best because I can keep my stencils nice and clean for the next project. So here, once again, I did a solid layer of color without any shading. I love to use these building type stencils as they are so great to quickly add color to your project. I don't always want to color using a coloring medium. Sometimes my wrist gets too tired from the coloring, so in some cases, I prefer ink blending. So here's a look at this background, and I think it is perfect with all of that vibrant color. Next, I picked a sentiment and I used my Mini Misty stamping tool and I stamped the sentiment onto the panel. Now, I wanted something simple, yet something bold and striking. So I used the Hello sentiment from the Clean Line XL stamp set from Kathy Zelski. I first stamped a hello in the center of my panel, and then I added 2 more hellos, one above and one below, to elongate this sentiment. And I kind of staggered each, so they're not lined up. One is a little bit to the left, one is a little bit to the right. So there's movement, there's a playfulness to this design. I used the VersaFine Onyx Black ink for my stamping to have a gorgeous, rich black impression. I also added sub-sentiments to each of these hellos just because I wanted my card to say more than just hello, and also because I wanted to add additional elements. And here I have it saying, hello, my friend, you are my person, and sending you a hug. And I stamped that in black ink as well. Now I did cut some of these sentiments apart to be able to break them up and separate them and make them a better fit for this background. So I have this big custom sentiment spawning across the colorful background and breaking it up. Next, I created an A2 card base using Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock, so the same type of paper that I used for my ink blended background. I also cut a thin strip off of my panel to have a part of the background show, or a part of the card base show. I actually wanted to add a colored cardstock strip to the background for additional pop of color. I first planned to add a red strip, but since this background doesn't have any red, the red felt kind of odd, and so I replaced it with yellow. I also cut a panel of white fun foam to foam mount my ink blended panel onto my card and pop it up a little bit. I used the Simon Says Stamp dot runner to adhere the elements in place. I love using this adhesive. It is very convenient and very strong too. I love how it holds everything down. Lastly, I embellished my card with a couple of aura sequins from Spellbinders, and I used the Simon Says Stamp embellishment wand, love it, to position them onto my background. I overlapped some of the letters with some of the larger sequins. I love doing this. And then I used the Barely Art glue to adhere the sequins in place. So here's a look at the card I have for you today. I hope you like this idea. If you make a card inspired by this video, we'd love it if you shared your project online and tagged us on social media. We always enjoy seeing what you make. Thanks so much for joining me today. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.